Okay, well, hello and welcome to the Any Given Sunday Headlines edition. We get a little more professional every week, and this week, Tyler, you and I are wearing headphones, and nothing else has happened to the set.
No, nothing at all.
Let's get right into it with the headlines, which are up here. Uh, San Francisco, you're wearing their jersey. It's not because they won, it's because the
No.
Lions failed to deliver. I will be wearing this jersey this week. I have another Commanders jersey that I'll be wearing next week. But San Francisco going into LA, it was a de facto home game for the Niners because there's no fans in LA, but still beats the Rams in LA. That is big. Does it make the Niners contenders, especially considering the injuries that they were suffering?
I think that it's a really difficult thing to gauge because it's a divisional game, and divisional games are always really difficult to use as measuring stick games, um, just because there's so much history and nuances that apply during divisional games, and just to me, this game, the Rams lost. Because one, they left 11 points on the table, blocked extra point, missed field goal, and Kyron Williams fumbling on the 1 yard line. But all credit to the 49ers. They came in with a really good game plan. They absolutely abused the soft Rams coverage, which philosophically just seems like what Sean McVay likes to do, kind of bend, don't break kind of defense. And these 49ers abused that early game, even though they only put up 6 points in the second half and then 3 more in overtime. They came out with the win, but I just don't think that they can be put in that contending conversation yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on using divisional games as like measuring stick type games. I think it's a mistake. Um, that being said, down, excuse me, down their starting quarterback, down their top 4 pass catchers, including the man whose jersey you're wearing, George Kittle. It's a really bad look for the Rams. Now, as soon as the Thursday night game was over, I looked up Kendrick Bourne's stat line and put it in for NFC Player of the Week, and someone forced me to change that with their performance on Sunday. But Kendrick Bourne still had a really, really impressive 10 for 142 and 0 showing in 2025. You can't let Kendrick Bourne do that to you.
No, but it's again one of those things where I think that it was just a philosophical game plan that the 49ers came in with because, frankly, in the second half, they couldn't really move the ball. The Rams made second half adjustments, and the San Francisco struggled to move the ball in the second half. A majority of his production was in the first half of that game. And, yeah, it's a bad look for the LA Rams, but it's a divisional game.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of weird things that can happen with divisional games. I mean, Las Vegas makes it look like they're going to beat Kansas City every single year. And every single year, everybody has Kansas City playing Las Vegas and absolutely blowing them out. And then, oh my God, Kansas City's down by 3 in the third quarter. So divisional games, they're really difficult to use as measuring sticks. I don't hold this loss severely against this Rams, and I don't slingshot the San Francisco into being contenders because of this win.
Yeah, I am. I'll say it again. You and I are both Niners haters for different reasons. But the Niners have the easiest schedule in the NFL. And I get that the Rams are contenders and that they just beat the Rams in their house, but man, just not you can't slingshot them into contender status yet. Not the least bit because what other contenders have they played? Now, I will say Kyle Shanahan, I'm just going to word this now. Kyle Shanahan was my coach of the week. Had to be.
Yeah,
you
I agree.
can't pull that off with those kind of injuries and not be the coach of the week. But I just can't in good conscience put San Francisco into the contender tier. This headline for the first 3 days of the week just read San Francisco Lamau, because I wrote that immediately after the game was over, which I'm sure you appreciated if you went through the doc. But
fun fact about the 49ers. Do you know that Chris McCaffrey is currently 6th in the league in receiving yards?
That does not surprise me with the receiver injuries they've suffered.
It doesn't surprise me either, but when I was looking yesterday, I was looking through some of the stat leaders in the NFL. Do that every week just to check, see who's topping the leaderboards. And I saw Christian McCaffrey there at 6, and honestly, I think it's funny, but I think it is good on Kyle Shanahan for using the best healthy player that he has.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with Kyle Shanahan, coach of the week. I think he went into LA with an absolutely great game plan, exploited the Rams defenses early, and then the Rams just couldn't get the win.
Now, going from a team that is likely at the end of its Super Bowl contention window to a team that might be about to begin another window. The New England Patriots went into Buffalo on rivalry night, where the Bills were wearing their... Honestly, they looked worse in motion than they did on paper. But the Bills were wearing their all-white rivalry jerseys, and New England came in and said, nah, fuck you. And shout out Stephon Diggs. He was my AFC player of the week. A very similar stat line to Kendrick Bourne, 10 for 146 and no touchdowns in a revenge game against Buffalo.
Who also, by the way, gave me a lot of points this week in fantasy, and I played you. So thank you,
It was the worst time for Stephon Diggs to have a legacy week, but good on you for making that management adjustment, and congrats on the win, Coach. I got a great week out of Matt Stafford. Would have gotten a better week out of Baker Mayfield. And that was a really tough decision to make on Thursday. I assumed that Stafford was going to throw 4 or 5 touchdown passes. He didn't. Baker did.
Stafford still threw a clean game.
Stafford still threw almost 400 yards, less than 120 yards after catch. But for Bills Patriots, New England started 2023 0-6. Started 2024 1-7. They are 3-2 through the first 5 weeks. They are 1 win away from matching their season total on the last year. Just now entering week 6. Drake May is the real deal. Stephon Diggs still has it, apparently. Unfortunately, not 33 plus. Couldn't put him in the Young Still Got It category.
I was looking at it, but then I remembered he didn't fit our parameters. But we still had a pretty decent Young Still Got It performance, which we'll mention a little bit later.
New England, nobody's ready, I think, for the Patriots to be good again, because we just got out of a 20-year-long abusive relationship with them where they won 6 Super Bowls. And we welcomed the Chiefs when they came in and tried to put an end to it. Are people going to welcome the Patriots as a team on the rise, or are they going to immediately hop off of them if they become true, 1 or 2 seed contenders?
I think a lot of people, including me, are going to be very welcoming to the Patriots' new look, because after 20 years of a team being coached by the same person and the team being competitive with the same quarterback, you get tired of seeing their face. That's just how it works in sports. But I think a lot of people like Mike Vrabel, including me. I think a lot of people think he was done dirty in Tennessee, which, in my opinion, he was. I think a lot of people like Drake May, and they want to see him succeed. So I think that right now, at least, the combo of Vrabel and May kind of being the faces of the team, with Christian Gonzalez being the face of the defense, I think those are three guys that a lot of people in the league like, and I think that the fans will welcome another competitive team in the AFC.
Well, and I should mention, given the parameters we just set out for San Francisco, too early to call New England contenders. Far too early.
Yeah.
But this is a very good statement win early in this regime. There's one statement win that I think actually matters a little more in a new regime that we'll get to later. Or in our full podcast episode, because we're not going to be talking about the Jags here. Spoiler alert, I was right again. But this is an excellent statement win to go into Buffalo with a team that does not have a lot of talent against a team that does, at least offensively. I mean, even if it's just Josh Allen and James Cook, is there a better two-player duo in the entire NFL other than maybe Lamar and Derrick Henry than Josh Allen and James Cook?
I'd argue Stafford and Nakua, but that's probably a little bit biased.
He's a homer. He's a Rams homer. A year or two ago, I might have said Hurts and Brown, but maybe I'll just kill myself. I'm going to cut that out.
I think that's a really good idea. I think that the New England Patriots will get welcomed as a new contender. I agree with you. I don't think that they are quite there yet, but I think they're an offseason away, honestly.
Yeah, and I mean, it is going to take nailing the 2026 NFL draft and free agency. And it might even take a little longer than that, right? I mean, the Commanders nailed the 2024 draft and free agency. And I mean, incredible run at the conference championship for them. But they are still a draft or two and a free agency or two away. As great of a team as they are, they're not there yet. New England's kind of in that tier right now. Drake May, the youngest by far of the 2024 quarterback class. I think he's still only 21 or 22. And the next youngest is Caleb Williams, who I really, really liked. Oh, he's 23. Okay, that's actually a little older than I thought he was. Caleb Williams, I think, is 24.
Drake May is 23, but he's a young 23.
He just turned 23.
His birthday was is August 30th.
Okay, yeah. So he was drafted at 21. He didn't start his rookie season, but when he eventually got the start, he was 22, and now he's 23. This is where you want a 23-year-old quarterback to be, and he still has time. Like Daniels, Nix, Penix, those guys did not have time. Williams, May, and McCarthy do have time because they're so much younger. They could afford to take a year or two to figure things out before elevating themselves to that level of play that we all expect out of them. But Drake May, in year two, he's exactly where you want him to be.
Yeah, I completely agree. And honestly, seeing a 23-year-old quarterback at the stage that he is, he was a contender I looked at his passing chart last week, and I thought it looked pretty good. Wasn't the best that I had for the week. I still thought it was a really good one. But he is exactly where you want him to be. And especially, I think that something that's been lost in the NFL a little bit over the last 5 years with these absolute freak athletes coming to the quarterback position is that your quarterback doesn't need to be good at 23. Doesn't need to be good at 24, 25, 26. Kurt Warner, right, he's the obvious example because he didn't get into the league until he was 28, I think.
Yeah.
And he went on to play in 3 different Super Bowls with 2 different teams and go on to have a Hall of Fame career.
Not only did he play in 3 different Super Bowls, the only 3 fully healthy seasons of his career, he went to the Super Bowl.
And I think that the Jordan Love also shows that it doesn't matter when your quarterback becomes great. As long as they do become great, you have a significantly greater chance of getting what everyone wants to get.
Yeah, and while we're on the topic of young quarterbacks and young regimes, I'm just going to give a little shout out to the Saints here. It had been a storyline early in the season for us that New Orleans had not won a game with a quarterback they drafted in nearly 30 years. And I also said last week, as we were previewing Giants Saints, that New Orleans was a well-coached but talent-deficient team. And New York had more talent but was poorly coached. That showed. Kellen Moore got his first win as the head coach of the Saints with Spencer Rattler at quarterback, a quarterback the Saints drafted. Bravo, boys, you did it. 29 years and 6 weeks into the season, you ended the drafted quarterback win drought. You won a Super Bowl with a quarterback you didn't draft. Maybe Rattler will be the guy.
Probably not, and I'm just going to leave it at that. But we've been talking a lot about contention today, and I think that there is a team that has risen this year that I believe is a true contender, and that team is the Indianapolis Colts. We've been talking about them the last few weeks. We've been following them a little bit closely this season. And when they lost in L.A., which they also very well could have won that game, they lost in L.A. They have had a tough loss at that in L.A. And then we talked about how do you bounce back from that? What do you do? How do you respond? And because that is what great teams do after a tough loss. They respond. And holy shit, did they respond with a 40-6?
Something like that.
Win over the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, you go in and you absolutely blow out a bad team, which is exactly what contenders do.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to give the Broncos some flowers here too. Because my preseason Super Bowl pick was Rams-Broncos. And the two closest games the Colts have played this year have been against the Colts. Have been against the Broncos and the Rams. And they're 1-1 in those games. They turn around and against a poorly coached and talent-deficient Raiders team, fuck you, Chip Kelly, absolutely took them out to the woodshed. Without their kicker. They were missing their kicker for large portions of the game. They had to go for two pretty much on pretty much every possession. And it didn't matter. They just absolutely took Vegas to the woodshed. And that's exactly what contending teams are supposed to do. And I'm really genuinely concerned, not for the first time, about the implications of a Daniel Jones-led contender. The Colts are defensively very good. Jonathan Taylor is very good. Their receiving core is very good. Much better than I gave it credit for coming into the season. I don't know how to feel about Daniel Jones. I feel like we've seen over the first few weeks of this pod, I just can't fathom a world where Daniel Jones is good, but it's the world we live in, and it's happening right now. And if you told me 12 months ago that Daniel Jones was going to be in theoretical MVP contention,
I mean, he is.
I would have laughed at you. I would have maybe sent you to the insane asylum.
Because nobody came into the season thinking that Daniel Jones was even going to be the starter for this team. At least, and then you hear a lot of reports from training camp. Hey, Daniel Jones is looking pretty good for the call, looking like he's going to get the start over Anthony Richardson.
And your reaction to that isn't, oh, Daniel Jones must be good. It's, the Colts are fucked.
It's the Colts are terrible, and Anthony Richardson isn't going to have a much longer of an NFL career. And granted, that part might still be true, but holy shit, Daniel Jones! Did you know he leads the NFL in QBR right now? That's
crazy. I really wish ESPN's formula for QBR was public. Holy shit. We saw this in 2022, right? Where there's a really strong ground game and the receivers are doing enough and the defense is pulling its weight. We know Daniel Jones can lead a playoff team. But the Colts aren't just a playoff team right now.
No.
They're 4-1. They're tied for the best record in the NFL.
And I'm pretty sure Daniel Jones right now has, I want to say, 9 total touchdowns to 2 total turnovers, and that isn't mind-blowing, like, out of the water. But his 2 interceptions were throws that were very easy to fix.
Yeah.
They were 2 deep balls that were underthrown against the Rams. But outside of that Rams game, he has 0 turnovers and 9 total touchdowns. And that is scary to think about because if you give a player a blind stat, and then you tell them that one of them is Daniel Jones and one of them is Patrick Mahomes, you're thinking there's absolutely 0 way that that's Daniel Jones. But this season it actually is. And I think that I don't know if this is saying that Daniel Jones is the best QB in the league, but he is most certainly helping this Colts team.
Well, and I did my QB tier list that I sent you before the season started. Daniel Jones was firmly in that bottom tier. And I think I have to put him up to like B tier. I think he's one of the top 15 quarterbacks in the NFL. And I don't think that's really debatable based on the way that he's played this season. And top 15 might be a little low.
I think it is a little bit low because this season, putting this season in a vacuum, I think that this season he has been a top 10 quarterback. And I don't think it's crazy for me to say that.
I don't think it's crazy for you to say that, but it's wild to hear. Like,
right now, Daniel Jones is 3rd in the league in passing yards, is number 1 in QBR, is number 5 in completion percentage. He's not playing with extraordinary touchdown volume, but frankly, when you have a monster like Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, Jonathan Taylor's going to get his.
Jonathan Taylor, who has scored 3 touchdowns in a single game twice.
But when all he's doing, he's going down, he's making the reads, he's putting the ball in receivers' hands, and frankly, when you're trying to win games and you've got a strong surrounding team, frankly, that is all your quarterback needs to do.
My only real question would be, how is Daniel Jones going to hold up in the playoffs against the aliens that the AFC has to offer? But frankly, Shane Steichen is taking a page out of the correct book from his old team and the NFC in general, which is, we talked about this a little bit last week, the AFC has quarterbacks, but the NFC has teams. The Rams are strong. The Eagles are strong.
Falcons, Packers.
The Falcons, the Packers. These are good
Minnesota
teams. And yes, the Eagles and the Buccaneers and the Rams have elite quarterbacks on top of that. But they're complete teams first and foremost. And I think Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard finally looked at the Colts and said, hey, fuck it. We're not going to have a quarterback. Let's build a team, and let's make sure that our quarterback can come along for the ride. And I think that's really going to work in the AFC in the playoffs. And we'll see, obviously. But if Justin Herbert is down his top 2 tackles and the Chiefs continue to struggle in the way they have, and the Ravens continue to struggle in the way they have, and the Bills continue to have games where their defense just disappears for games at a time, why not them?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that we right now absolutely can put Colts into that contender tier, and we'll talk about this on the full episode about how the Colts look this week, and we both picked them this week against the Cardinals in pretty high-scoring games at that.
Yeah.
I think that they are firmly in the contender tier right now, especially with a weak Baltimore Ravens, a weak Cincinnati, a
weak Texans, frankly.
A really, really weak Texans. They got a really huge bounce-back win over the Ravens. But we need to see that against, frankly, a real team right now, which the Ravens just haven't been. So if the Colts blow out the Cardinals or put up another 30-point game, it'll just confirm what we're talking about right now.
Well, and the Colts are the best parts of the 2022 Giants and the 2024 Saints. They are a well-coached team with enough talent to support their quarterback. And what more could you ask for than a well-coached team with talent?
Yeah.
Right? That basically defines the Niners' 2019 and 2023 seasons. Well-coached teams with an abundance of talent that can just wreck shit when they're at the top of their game.
Yeah.
And we'll see if anyone has the defensive power to match them. The Eagles and the Colts don't play in the regular season. The Colts did play the Broncos, and they beat the crap out of the Broncos defense.
And the score against the Rams was a little bit misleading. They had 2 big touchdowns that were taken away because of a holding call and a
really stupid
stupid
play
mistake
that no one would ever make again.
Yeah.
Right, Amari DiMarcado?
So, but we've got humor that the Colts very well could have had 14 more points in that game, and they could have come out of LA with a win. And if they do that, then we are talking about a Colts team that is 5-0 and is looking like the AFC powerhouse right now, which is crazy to say with Daniel Jones at the helm. But I'm very curious to see how the Colts rest of the season is going to go. I'm going to try to actually watch the Colts Cardinals game, apparently because I want the Cardinals to lose. Boo. But I'm excited for the Colts rest of the season.
I am excited for the Colts for the rest of the season, and that's a weird feeling. I haven't been excited for the Colts since Andrew Luck left, but moving from one 4-1 team to a litany of other 4-1 teams, at least one in each of our circled games of the week.
Yeah.
Circled first, the 4-1.
Do we want to do?
I included the circle games in the headlines last week.
Okay.
But we are sub 30 right now. We can call it here and do all of the games in one episode.
I think all the games in one would be good.
Okay.
So if we just want to, obviously cut this out and then skip to just rest for a second, go outro, and then go into games if you want to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay. So that, I think, is going to do it for our headlines this week. We will have all of our game picks out in the full podcast episode later. That is going to make both of... The VOD should already be out. This is the second video that'll come out. The podcast itself will be the final episode. The VOD channel, as always, linked in the description below. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Those are on screen now because I like making Holt do a little bit more editing. And yeah, we will see you all next week for the Week 6 headlines going into Week 7. Okay. And now for the main event.
Now we do...
Hello and welcome to Any Given Sunday.
Welcome to Any Given Sunday.
Okay.
Hold on, I can take it this week.
Go for it.
Just that you don't dominate the intros the entire time. Just so that it looks like I do a little bit more than I actually do. Hello and welcome to Any Given Sunday. This is Week 6 of the NFL season. There should be a video out about the headlines coming from last week. So if you're interested, please go give that a watch. Should be on the channel. So we're going to give it a start with some of our circled games for this week. Again, we've got the Eagles featured in a circled game this week. It's against the Giants. And we've got this one marked down as a bounce-back week as both teams experienced unexpected losses last week. So what are your thoughts for this one?
I can understand how, from an outside perspective, it would look like we keep putting the Eagles in here because I'm a homer. And maybe to an extent that's true, but it's also true that the Eagles are dominating the headlines early in the season, mostly for what they're not doing. Now, I will say, credit where credit is due. I think Kevin Patullo actually called a pretty good offensive game against the Broncos. I would have given Saquon more carries in the second half, but Saquon popped up on the injury report on Monday with a knee issue, so there was probably a reason that he didn't get as many carries in the second half. The Eagles' offensive problems this week stemmed from execution and just general sloppy play. There were 3 big passes that I'm thinking of specifically that didn't connect. One, because Hurts held the ball too long and AJ didn't run full speed throughout his entire route. Otherwise, it would have been a walk-in touchdown if either of those things were not true. There was a big pass to Jahan Dotson that was wiped off the board because Dotson didn't think the pass was coming his way and couldn't get a second foot down. And then there was a huge chunk on 4th and 5, to Devontae Smith that would have been a 32-yard dagger, effectively, to set the Eagles up in the red zone. That was wiped off the board because of a hold. Or no, I'm sorry, because of an illegal shift. There were 2 players moving at once. Saquon was not set more than a second prior to the snap, and that wiped off a 32-yard gain and instead forced a punt. Those are all well-called plays. One of them would have ended up in a touchdown. The other 2 would have put the Eagles in the green zone, if not the red zone. You just have to connect on those. And it was reported on Monday that Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and Jalen Hurts sat down for a very productive, very positive, multiple-hour-long conversation. And I have to imagine that the root of that conversation was, hey, let's fucking win some football games, please. Should be mentioned the Eagles are still 4-1 and have had the hardest schedule in the NFL so far through the first 5 weeks. Any team would struggle against the schedule that the Eagles have played if they don't dominate the Giants, who, as we have discussed before, are a very poorly coached team. I'm going to be upset. The turning point in the Eagles season last year came when we played the Giants the first time in MetLife, which is where the game is this week. And we turn around, took them out back. Saquon had almost 200 rushing yards. And we won 28-3. I have 31-3 for this week. I think even missing Landon Dickerson, who's out with a knee injury, we take the Giants out back this week and reassert ourselves as the cream of the crop in the NFC. Because it shouldn't be anyone else. The Rams are in conversation. The Bucs are in conversation. It shouldn't be anyone else. It should be the Eagles. And that's where the NFC should have to go.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that the Eagles last week had a lot of very small things take away really big plays. And when that happens, that is not a knock on the quality of the team. That's just, frankly, it's just coincidence. It's just unfortunate coincidence that a well-coached team like the Eagles will most likely clean up in the following weeks. And you've got this game as a blowout. I am going to change the score prediction I've got, but I don't think it's going to be as big of a blowout that you have. The biggest thing for the Eagles is to come out with a win and minimal injuries.
Yeah.
It is the turf monster. MetLife is a scary place for any team to play. Giants and Jets fans, I'm so sorry that your team plays there half the year. And I've got a little bit more faith in the Giants, I think, than you do, just because they are a much better team than they were last year.
Yeah.
They've got a questionable quarterback, but they had a quarterback who's not questionable anymore. But at the time, on the Giants, was a questionable quarterback. But they've got a better defense in my eyes. And I think that this game is going to be somewhere in the wheelhouse of being high 20s, low 10s in favor of the Eagles. I've got 27-14 for this game. But I do agree that the Eagles are probably going to take the Giants out back and reassert as the top dog in the NFC.
Part of the reason I have this as such a large blowout is because the Giants are suffering a bunch of key injuries at the skill position. Tyrone Tracy might come back, which would certainly help their ground game. Although, to hurt their ground game, Nakobe Dean is coming back for the Eagles, and he is one of the great run-stopping linebackers in the NFL. Him paired with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, with Nolan Smith on the field, the Georgia quartet is almost unbeatable. But the Georgia trio in the middle is damn good. And there's a reason that they won two national championships at Georgia off of that front. And when you combine Jalen Carter's ability to rush the passer, although he is on the injury report, he's questionable, and Jordan Davis's ability to stop the run, and Nakobe Dean's ability to do both, actually to do all three, rush the passer, play in coverage, and stop the run, it's a really, really tough interior trio to get past, which means the Giants are going to have to live on the edges for their runs. Unfortunately, the Eagles also have really good safeties. And offensively, the Giants are missing, I want to say, their top 3 pass catchers. Malik Neighbors is out for the season. Darius Slayton, I don't think, is playing this week. So at minimum, 2 of their top 3 guys. But the Giants don't have a ton of talent. Yes, they are a more talented team than they were last year. But they are a poorly coached team. And they are missing some of their premier talent, including Malik Neighbors.
They are missing. Currently, ESPN has Neighbors is obviously on the IR. Really, really unfortunate. I hope that Neighbors takes the time necessary to recover. I don't know if you saw the report that apparently he hasn't been healthy since high school, which
holy shit,
which is insane to think that he's been playing through injuries the entire time. But Neighbors, I really, really hope that you do take the time to recover so that your body can get back to health. And Darius Slayton is also listed as out, so their top 3 receivers are Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, and Bo Collins.
With all due respect, Wan'Dale's going to be in the slot. Cooper DeJean's got him.
Yeah, I agree.
Jalen Hyatt is a speed demon, no doubt. Quinyon Mitchell is faster.
Is faster.
And it doesn't matter if you've got a Dory Jackson or Keely Ringo on whoever the fuck Bo Collins is.
I don't know who Bo Collins is either. But I think for the Giants, if the Giants do want to come in or they're not going anywhere. But if the Giants do want to pull off the upset at home in front of Big Blue fans, I think you've got to have a really good defensive game. You've got to keep the Eagles scoring under 20 points, because if you don't, I don't think you win. And offensively, I think that your key is the living CTE Walker, Cam Skattebo.
Certified crayon eater, Cam Skattebo. Certainly would have been our NFC Rookie of the Week if we kept track of Rookie of the Week.
And I think that Jackson Dart is going to need to use his legs in this one, just because of the injuries to receiver, and find a way to put up 20 points. If you can put up 20 and find a way to keep the Eagles under 20, I mean, obviously that's a win, but I think those are the two keys if New York wants to pull off the upset at home.
Well, and the strength of this Giants team is no doubt its defense. Especially that defensive line is insane. And the Eagles are missing Landon Dickerson. He's out with a knee injury. So it's going to be tougher for an Eagles offensive line that has already struggled and is now missing one of its key contributors.
And they're playing.
And they're playing on a short week at MetLife
against
a really good defensive line. You were 100% right when you said they just need to come out with a win and no injuries. Right? A better litmus test will be the Vikings next week. That being said, blow them the fuck out anyway. Right?
Yeah.
Go in, stay healthy, beat the shit out of them. And I think you'll get a lot of the fans that you've started to lose back.
I think if the Eagles show a really great offensive game, I think absolutely they're going to be able to gain a lot of the powerhouse team that people have been kind of questioning this season. But for me, the X factor for the Giants is going to be Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah.
If Dexter Lawrence can abuse the fact that they've got, I believe, Steen as a rookie.
No, he's a third-year player. It's his first year as a starter.
First year as a starter. If they can abuse Steen, which so far this season to me has looked pretty solid on film, and I don't know who the filler for Dickerson will be, but if Dexter Lawrence can eat, I think it makes this game a lot easier for the Giants to stay under.
It's either Matt Pryor or Brett Toth.
Judging by the fact that I have never heard either of those names in my life.
It's not good.
It
could be Fred Johnson.
I think Dexter Lawrence has got to eat if the Giants want to have a chance in this one. And they've got to keep the Eagles under 20. But that is the Thursday night game this week. Moving on to another primetime game. We've got the Bills and the Falcons. Falcons are coming off of the bye. I believe Drake London should be back for this game.
I believe so. Even if he's not, it's a Falcons team on a week's rest. Again, at home against a Bills team that just showed they have major weaknesses in pass defense against a much worse offense with a much less balanced attack. All credit to Ramondre Stevenson for bouncing back and scoring 2 touchdowns in that game. But Ramondre Stevenson is no Bijan Robinson. Hunter Henry is no Kyle Pitts. And Stephon Diggs in the year of our Lord 2025 is no Drake London.
So the key injuries for Atlanta this week is Drake London is currently listed as fully healthy.
Good.
AJ Terrell is the only questionable starter on the defense.
Oh.
So you are looking at what will hopefully be a fully healthy Atlanta defense, which is respectively a pretty good defense. Offensively, you are looking at the only starter injury being a questionable Darnell Mooney. I don't know about the specific cases for either Mooney or Terrell. Frankly, for me, Terrell is probably a little bit more important of a piece than Mooney. But if you can have Mooney and Terrell healthy against a Buffalo team that was upset last week at home in the A, I think that I personally have Atlanta winning this game 30-28. Just because I've got a lot of confidence in this team and what I saw out of Josh Allen last week, and I think that this is a trend that has been kind of consistent with the Josh Allen Bills, is that when Josh Allen is moving, the Bills are moving. When Josh Allen is not moving, the Bills don't go anywhere. And I think that I watched that game, the game last week of Buffalo and New England. And to me, Josh Allen did not look great in the game. Granted, he finished with, I want to say it was 2 touchdowns and almost 400 yards. But Josh Allen did not play really great in that game. I think he could have had 2 more turnovers. And it just so happened that he didn't turn it over. But I think Atlanta's going to take it. I think they're going to get an upset and look like the Atlanta that I believe that the Falcons can be.
Yeah, and our scores don't differ on this, but our result does. I think that the Bills are upset about dropping a game to the Patriots. And as much as the entire Falcons offense was my NFC Player of the Week 2 weeks ago, the last time they played, I think that this is going to be a shootout. You think this is going to be a shootout. And I think it's going to come down to who has the ball last. And if it's the Falcons, I trust that they will pull out the win, right? If it's 28-27 and the Falcons are driving, I trust they'll get the field goal. If it's 31-28 and the Bills have the ball, I trust that Josh Allen will find a way into the end zone. I have the Bills winning this one 34-31, maybe on a walk-off, maybe the Falcons just failed to rally. But I think that this is going to be a really telling game for both teams. Actually, I was about to say neither one of them needs to win it. The Bills need to win it to maintain their contender status, to me. The Falcons aren't quite there yet, and as much as they are a very good team, I have questions.
And they are the same team that got blown out by the Panthers.
That lost 30-0 to the Panthers. And to that end, I just don't really see them holding up against the might of the Bills. And if they do, it's time to put them in that contender status. Even if the Falcons don't have to win this game, they just have to put up a really good fight. It can't be 34-17 and then they score a couple of garbage time touchdowns to make it close. They have to be competitive in this game in order to show how much they've progressed. But I do think the Falcons are right on the edge of breaking into that kind of second tier of teams.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you, and how if the Falcons can come in and either be really, really competitive with Buffalo or get a win from Buffalo, I think that it will spark a lot of conversations talking about, okay, are the Falcons a legit NFC contender? But I think that the Falcons are going to get the edge in this one just because of the fact that the Bills' offense is pretty much completely fueled by Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And although as great as Josh Allen has been over the last few seasons, I don't think he's going to be great enough in this game. And I've got the Falcons getting the edge over the Buffalo Bills. But onto our last circled game of this week.
Featuring a very surprising 4-1 team in the home team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I see that for the third week in a row, we disagree on how the Jaguars game is going to go. And it's in the same direction that it's been each of the last 2 weeks. I have to know. And I know that it was the stupidest game-winning touchdown of all time. But I have to know. After that showing against that team, how is it possible that you don't think the Jaguars can put up 30 against the Seahawks?
Because I think right now the Seahawks are a better team than the Kansas City Chiefs. Right now,
Okay.
I don't think as a team the Kansas City Chiefs are contenders. And I think that I will get a lot of blast for saying that. Right now, as a team, the Chiefs are not contenders. They're 2-3, and it comes to a point where we can say, okay, they're starting slow. Last year, they still started slow, but last year their record was very different. This year, you are not getting the insane, miraculous, low probability wins that you did.
In fact, they're 0-3 in one-score games.
And I just don't think the Kansas City Chiefs are very good, and their wins this year, I know one is against the Ravens.
The other one was in week 3. They won 2 in a row. They were 0-2, and then they won 2 in a row. Who did they beat in week 3? Was it Chicago?
It was the Giants.
Oh, okay.
So if when you've played,
that's right.
This has been the Chiefs' schedule up to this point in the season. They lose to the Chargers week 1, 27-21, which by the
in
way,
Brazil. So it was not a home game for either team.
Which by the way, that is the only game that the Chargers have put up more than 24 points this season.
Oh.
You go into Philly week 2.
Nope, that was in Kansas City.
That was in City. Philly goes to Kansas City in week 2. And a struggling Philadelphia offense, and you lose 20-17. You go to New York, you beat a I'm pretty sure it was still Russell Wilson-led New York Giants. You beat them 22-9. Okay. You have a huge 37-point game against Baltimore in Kansas City. And the Ravens right now have the worst scoring defense in the NFL.
I was going to say we have officially reached a point post Texans Ravens where a statement win against the Ravens is not a statement win. The Ravens are one of the worst teams in the NFL, and it's time we treat them that way. Kansas City did not beat a contender by what you said 37.
It was they beat the Ravens 37-20. Although I'm pretty sure the Ravens got a garbage time touchdown at the end.
You did not beat a contender by 17. You beat one of the worst teams in the league by 17. And as much as we said that's what contenders do when it comes to the Colts, it's not hard to beat the worst team in the NFL.
No, and it's also the final score of the game wasn't 40 to, I think it was 40-6 or 40-8. The game score was 37-20. Granted, there was I'm pretty sure there was a garbage time touchdown, so we'll say 37-13. That is a 24-point difference, which is big, but it is not
34 points.
It is not 34 points. And then you let up 31 points to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And to me, that does not say that you're a contender right now. And I think that we cannot speak about the Chiefs as if they are a contender. I think that it is.
So you're not moved at all by the Jaguars beating the Chiefs?
Not really. To me, it says that the Jaguars aren't terrible, but they're not great. Or I shouldn't say they're not great. They're not elite. And on the other hand, I think that this might just be because I watch Seattle and there's a level of love-hate I have with Seattle. I think that they are a good team. You have their quarterback as your chart of the week.
I do.
And I think that Jacksonville's defense is going to struggle against Seattle's offense.
I'll just give him the shout-out because you mentioned it. Sam Darnold was my chart of the week last week. 28 of 34 for 341 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick. That is a tremendous, tremendous showing from Sam Darnold, even despite the loss. One of the best uniform matchups we've ever seen between the Seahawks throwbacks and the Bucks creamsicle on ice. Which, fun fact, the Bucks have only won 2 games all time in their white creamsicle jerseys. Both of them were this year. They are 2-14 all time in their creamsicle on ice, and they are 2-0 in them this season.
And just to for the purpose of revisiting, because you asked me why I put the Seahawks over the Jaguars. Right now, the Jaguars have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs, the San Francisco 49ers, the Texans, and the Panthers. Do any of those teams sound like, to you, a great team? I mean, a combined record, the only one of those teams that is a winning team is the San Francisco 49ers.
And they're what, 3-2?
I'm pretty sure they're actually 4-1.
Oh no, you're right. They are 4-1. Who did they lose to?
The Bengals. But I'm pretty sure it was with Joe Burrow.
Half the game was with Joe Burrow. The other half was with Jake Browning, who they didn't have a scouting report out on. And they beat Joe Burrow. Jake Browning is the one who turned around and beat them. Which, I mean, we saw with Jackson Dart. We saw this with rookie Jalen Hurts. When you're not ready to play somebody,
it's a lot harder to play.
It's a lot harder to play. So sorry about the technical issues, as it seems there always are. We escaped last week relatively unscathed.
We did.
But, higher production value, more mistakes. It's bound to happen. We were in the middle of 49ers Bucks. I think we were reaching the end. We both agree the Buccaneers are the better team.
Yeah.
And we both agree that it's going to be tough for the Niners to prove their legitimacy. This would be a good way for them to do it if they can beat Tampa.
Yeah, and I think keys for the game is that currently Mike Evans is still listed as doubtful, which is still a huge loss, but we just saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers put up 38 points without Mike Evans. Egmika Egbuka is looking like, to me, the offensive rookie of the year favorite right now. and he's just been playing absolutely phenomenal. He's really, really stepped up into the role that the Buccaneers need him to be. And I think that he's going to continue his rookie of the year campaign. And I've got the Bucs winning this one 31-24 in Tampa.
Yeah, I've got 28-24. It's the difference of a field goal. But moving on to Bengals at Packers. Packers coming off a bye against a Bengals team that looked actually surprisingly good against Detroit. Do I think they can keep that up? No. I think Micah Parsons... I don't think it matters if it's Jake Browning or Joe Flacco. I think they named Joe Flacco the starter.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't think that matters at all. I believe that Micah Parsons and the Packers defense are going to absolutely feast on whatever the hell is left of Cincinnati. Cincy, it does not get any better from here. To the point where I would consider just telling Joe Burrow to take the rest of the year off. He was due back in late November. There is no reason to subject him to December or January football. No. Tell him to take the year off. He'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it'll be better for his long-term recovery. And if he does come back, and we talked about this when he originally went down, since he needs to scrape some wins together, but frankly, they're just playing teams that are just too good to be able to do that. When you've got your big name player that, frankly, your offense needs to thrive, especially in Cincinnati's case, because I don't know if you've seen the graphic that displays Jamar Chase's fantasy. It's fantasy, but it displays his fantasy finishings as a wide receiver. He is only top 10 twice with quarterbacks that are not Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
And he's one of the best receivers, who is widely considered one of the best receivers in the NFL. I've got the Packers still winning this one. I've got it a little bit closer than you do. I've got them 28-7.
Yeah, I've got the Packers. 28-7 or 28-17.
Change it.
Okay.
Change it just now, just because I do agree with you. I think that the Packers defense is going to go absolutely crazy, even if Joe Flacco, I think, is a better quarterback than Browning.
Oh yeah, I think we get one vintage Flacco moment where he just floats it and says, "Fuck it, Jamar's down there somewhere."
I think
I don't think it changes. I think it's Packers 35-7.
Yeah. I think the big thing, if you do want to scrape a win here, Packers are coming off of a bye. It's a rested Packers team in Green Bay. Fortunately for Bengals, it is not December yet, so It is not -8 degrees. But if the
It's also
Bengals,
not Toyota-thon yet, so Jordan Love has not gained his magic powers.
If the Bengals do want to win this game in Green Bay, your offensive line has to protect Joe Flacco. Because if you can protect Joe Flacco, it means that Joe Flacco has a chance to do what veteran quarterbacks do, and that is get the ball in their hands of the best guys.
Well, and to that end, the key to the game for the Packers is don't let them do that.
Don't let them do that.
Let Micah Parsons play. I hope that he took the bye week to get healthier than he has been. Yeah. And I hope that we see him at kind of the usage rates that we saw in Dallas. And I hope that he just absolutely fucking murders somebody. Not Joe Flacco. I don't want Joe Flacco to die.
We love Joe Flacco.
You know, if he could just, I don't know, put their right tackle in hell.
Yeah.
What's the worst that's going to happen?
So we both got the Packers dominating the Bengals in this one. And on to the Sunday night game. Prime time for Sunday. We've got the Lions going into Kansas City. We agree on this one. I've got the game a little bit more competitive. We talked a lot about the Chiefs earlier. I don't really see them as competitors, although I do think that they are still a good team. I'm not as high on the Lions' defense as a lot of people are, which is why I still got the Chiefs putting up over 20 in this one. And I've got the Lions winning in Kansas City 30-27.
Yeah, I think you and I are in agreement about what the Chiefs are and, more importantly, what they are not. Yes, this game is at Arrowhead. The Lions upset the Chiefs at Arrowhead to begin the 2023 season when they were not a considerably less talented team than they currently are. But when they were still trying to assert themselves as the team they really have been since 2023. It's weird. The Chiefs got bad and the Lions got good. Kind of like at the same time. Uh, but I've got Lions 35-17. I think the Lions are one of the best teams in the NFL, and I think that they are going to prove that by taking out one of the most mid teams in the NFL so far this season.
Yeah. And on to the Monday night games to finish off the Week 6 slate. We've got the Bears, who are coming off of a bye week, going into Washington and playing the Commanders.
Now, we were there last year, and I'm just going to insert the clip because, my God, what a game that was. That being said, this is a different Bears team. And it is roughly the same. It's a different Commanders team as well, actually. I was going to say it's roughly the same Commanders team. That's not necessarily true. The philosophy of this Commanders team has changed since that game. Now, we differ in opinion on this one, and I think it really just comes down to how we view these quarterbacks and these coaches. I love Caleb Williams, and I love Ben Johnson.
I think we're all very aware at this point.
You don't love Caleb Williams, but you have a lot of respect for Cliff Kingsbury, and Jaden Daniels obviously went to the NFC Championship last year. But you have a lot of respect for Kingsbury because he was in your division for a few years.
This is a really weird game for me to judge because I don't hate Caleb Williams. I just haven't seen him play at a consistent level.
Yeah.
And for me, consistency, being able to consistently go out there and put up good performances is the best quality any player of any position can have. And Caleb Williams I should say more vastly, the Bears as a team and as an offense have not been able to show me consistency yet. While the Commanders, to me, are a little bit easier to judge. They have been a little bit more consistent over the last couple of years. And it's also in Washington. And I don't think this game's going to end in as wild of a way that it did last year. But I do think that the Commanders are going to take this one. We both have this as really close games. I think it's going to be a great Monday night game. I've got the Commanders winning it 24-20.
Yeah, and as great of an ending as it was, I really just can't shake the feeling that the Bears, who were less talented and a much more poorly coached team last year going into Washington, they were that close to beating Washington in Washington. And fuck me, sorry. I really just can't shake the feeling that a much more talented Bears team and a much better coached Bears team is going to be able to right the wrong that started the schism of these two franchises. I don't think the Bears are where the contenders are yet in terms of how far they're ready to go in the postseason. But I do have the Bears taking this one 28-24.
Either way, I think it should be an absolutely great Monday night game.
Well, it's a great Monday night doubleheader because Bills-Falcons should also be very entertaining.
Yeah. Which
might be the first time that we get two genuinely entertaining Monday night football games.
Unfortunately, won't be able to watch them both, but I can flick through.
Yeah. One goes to commercial or halftime, you change the channel. And then a small format change just to give our editors, Reed, Holt, and I, a little bit more time going forward. Holt, by the way, our executive producer, has agreed to come on full time as an editor in exchange for food, which,
these are the arrangements that college students make.
These are the arrangements that college students make. So fast forwarding to next Thursday, we've got Steelers at Bengals. Now, I forgot that you marked this one the way that you did. The Steelers are very good at a lot of things, and the Bengals aren't. I have this one 35-12. I think a couple of garbage time touchdowns where they fail the 2-point conversion both times is not out of the realm of possibility for a very, very bad Bengals team. Now, I want you to walk me through your score because I get that it's at Cincinnati. I get it's a primetime game. The Bengals undefeated in their whiteout jerseys, which they will presumably be wearing. It's tricky to call a game literally a week ahead. We're filming this on Thursday. It's much later in the week than we usually do these. But it's incredibly tough to call a game a week out, and I'd love to know what you see in Bengals Steelers.
So to preface, I do have the Bengals winning this game 17-13 as what I'm pinning as a very massive upset. And the reason why, Joe Flacco will have had a full season of practice, which matters a little bit. And I have this game pinned the way that I do because it is a AFC North rivalry game. The Steelers have a reputation of losing games they should be winning. And because upsets, they happen.
They do.
They often happen within divisions. And I think that the Steelers' offense, for whatever, this prediction is not going to be great for my track record because it is completely off superstition. There isn't really a whole lot of logic behind it. But it is, Joe Flacco's going to have a full week of practice. I think by then he will be much more accustomed to what I think he's going to do, which is feed Jamar Chase. And the Bengals show that when you feed Jamar Chase, you have a much better chance at winning football games. Which is why I think that the Bengals are going to be able to pull off the upset next Thursday, winning the game 17-13, and it is purely off of Joe Flacco having a week of practice.
Yeah.
And the fact that upsets happen. The Steelers lose some games that they really shouldn't lose, and I think that this is going to be one of those cases.
It really is just the ethos of this show, though. The only way the Bengals are going to win without Joe Burrow is if they, any given Sunday, or in this case, any given Thursday, their way to a victory. We have a couple of teams on bye this week. It's the Texans and the Vikings, just the two. The Texans are having a very disappointing season compared to what they wanted. But having a win, a dominant win, going into the bye, always a good thing. And the Vikings, I'm so glad they're not on my screen at all this week. After 4 of the last 5 weeks, they were in a time slot all by themselves.
But I hope
that when they come back next week, rested against the Philadelphia Eagles, who will be coming off a mini bye. I hope that J.J. McCarthy's healthy because if it's Carson Wentz versus Jalen Hurts, I'm not going to be happy. Let me put it that way. I'm not going to be happy.
Yeah, I think that this is a really well-timed bye for both of these teams. Texans just coming off of a dominant win while struggling in the beginning of the year. Early buys are good if you're struggling early in the year. Gives you a lot of time to kind of reflect and dig deep into a lot of film and try to game plan for the next game.
Yeah.
And try to kind of regather your guys and your training staff and your coaches and go out and show that you're a better team than you were before. And for the Vikings, you got a pretty banged up team so far, and a bye is exactly what you need when you need an extra week to recover and hopefully be able to play a healthy game against Philadelphia Eagles. But that about does it for any given Sunday.
Yeah, I've just got one more thing that I want to touch on, which is our records.
Records from last week.
Yes, our records from last week. I went 7-7, which marks the second week in a row that I've gone exactly 500. My overall record is 15-15. You went 6-8, and
I think the difference was the Jags.
The difference was the Jags game. So that's 2 weeks in a row that I've gone exactly 500, but predicted the Jags record correctly. And 2 weeks in a row that you've gone sub 500 by missing the Jags pick. Because that was the only thing we differed on in week 4. And it was not the only thing we differed on last week. It's not the only thing we differed on this week. But if I go 500 again, you better mark a Jaguar victory because that shit's coming.
That's what I'm saying. If the Jags win this week, I promise I will mark them. I don't care who they're playing. I will mark them the week after.
And then they'll lose. You can't pick the Jaguars or else they'll lose.
Probably.
But yeah, that is going to do it for us here at Any Given Sunday. God, I'm hungry, and it's Quesadilla Thursday. I'm going to go get me a quesadilla.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Check out the social medias and the VODcast. Everything will be linked in the description.
Below.
Thank you so much to our executive producer, Holt, for agreeing to come on as a full-time editor and producer. So see you guys next week.
Yep.